how's it going? My name is Luke Stokes, and this is going to be a long video. What I'm going to attempt to do is walk through an entire tutorial of how you can launch your own distributed autonomous community on the EOS Jungle Test Network just by copying and pasting some commands. So today is Friday. It's about 3 p.m. February 1st, 2019, and I feel like this stuff is significant. And just before we get started, let me give a little backstory. I've been in crypto for cryptocurrency for more than 5.5 years in the whole blockchain space. I'm really passionate about decentralizing systems. I'm really passionate about global nonviolent consensus. I'm passionate about individuals owning their own store of value because I believe this leads to freedom and autonomy and all kinds of super awesome things for our species. That said, I also recognize that in order to do this, we actually need to have mechanisms for consensus to figure out what it is we want to do within our communities. And the most exciting thing I've seen come out of this space, one of the most exciting things, is this concept of a distributed autonomous company or corporation or organization, like a DAO, or a community, so a DAC. And as you probably know, I've been involved with eosDAC since about April of last year. And we've been working really hard. The team is amazing. We got some incredible developers, designers, translators, just people working on every aspect of making this happen. And so in the last couple of days, I got really excited about what would it look like to take everything that we've already built and walk through it and actually publish on the blockchain, everything we have, just like start to finish, create a DAC. And so that's what I did yesterday. It took most of the day and I put together a tutorial, and I was thinking today I want to go ahead and put it in a video. And why this is important, one, because we've all been working so hard towards this, and it's just, there's a lot of value that we've created, but I think is kind of not super well known to the larger EOS community and maybe even to the larger cryptocurrency community. Even if EOS is not your bag and you're not super excited about it, you can use these tools on other blockchains as well to manage governance within your community and to come to decision making on chain about how funds should be distributed, about which projects should be supported, all that kind of stuff. And so it's really exciting. It's really cool. And so I want to kind of do this video. I don't know how long it's going to take, but we'll walk it through. And with this, we'll hopefully have some kind of timing as far as what's involved now, and then in the future, once we actually build the DAC factory, where this is hopefully just going to be point and click to set up your own DAC, we can see how much time we're saving people. So here we go. Let's buckle in. Like I mentioned here, this is the post I put together yesterday. I actually just published it today, but I worked on it yesterday. And this has all the details of what it is we're doing with eosDAC, how we're going to set up all the permissions and everything. And it's just a really long, basically really long tutorial. So what I'm going to do is essentially go through this tutorial with you while we're sitting here, and we're going to figure it all out and see how long it takes. So buckle in and let's get started. So first off, I'm going to go ahead and just create a folder. Actually, I can follow that right here. Go ahead and create a folder. So I'm going to do make directory. We'll call it video. I'll call it video DAC. How about that? So video DAC. I'm going to create video DAC today. We got to start with getting EOS. This will take some time. I probably won't do this whole thing while you're sitting there waiting, watching, and all that. But because it takes a while to compile EOS and all that. But I mean, I'm going to keep track of the time to see how long it actually takes to do all that. And once we get there, let's see, pull this out. I'm going to go ahead and keep track of the date and time. I'll pause the video, run through it, and then start it again, because it's no fun watching things build. Although, what's that? XKCD compiling. One of my favorite XKCDs of all time. My code's compiling. I'm sure you've all done something like that at some point in your career, but I always get a kick out of that one. All right, we're still pulling down sub modules. Definitely important. If you try to run the build script without doing that, it actually complains and says, hey, you got to do your submodules first. And also I should let's see, what am I running this on? So I'm running this on 3 gigahertz, 16 gigs of RAM. Pretty straightforward box, not something super beefy or anything like that. So pretty much anyone should be able to do this. The build will take longer. Some of these things will take longer, depending on your network, depending on your CPU and RAM and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, here we go. But yeah, we're just going to walk through this whole thing. Basically, we're going to create all the different accounts on the Jungle testnet. We're going to create, compile all the different contracts for those accounts. We're going to set up the configuration for the DAC. We're going to set up the front end and the API and everything we need to get this DAC off the ground. So buckle in, it's going to be exciting. All right, so right now, date is that. So we're going to go ahead and run this build, and I will pause the video and come back once it's done, because that will take a while. See you in a minute. All right, we're back, and 54, so it took about 15 minutes to compile that. I went ahead and opened up the folder we're working on here, dropped an image in here as well that we'll use later. So next we want to go ahead and install. So let's do that. That won't take long. We're also going to have to get CDT going. CDT is the tool that you use to compile the EOS smart contracts. So let's go ahead and do all that. Don't think this takes as long to compile. Probably still take 5 or so minutes. So we'll see. Once we get these set up, we'll set up, actually we can go ahead and do this now. Set up a little script. Use this little script for running the key server. And you can use whatever editor you want to use, doesn't really matter. I'm just using VI here. Actually, whoops, in the wrong folder. Make that executable, which we've got right here. I'll go ahead and get that running. I actually have to wait for this to. Actually, I can run that now. So that's running in the background. This will manage our keys, which we will need. We're also going to need a little script for running commands on the Jungle testnet. Let's turn it on. So I'm going to do that. I just call it jungle.sh just so I don't confuse it with the mainnet. Basically it just says, hey, run Cleos, make sure you connect to a Jungle node, good to go. And that just means the script is executable. So we can do things like stuff like that. So there, we're connected to the Jungle testnet, which is great. So yeah, we're still waiting for this submodules to pull through on CDT. Yeah, let's go ahead and create a wallet while we're sitting here waiting. Now again, I'm going to show you a private key, but this is not a key I would ever use in production. And probably before I publish the video, I'll go ahead and change these keys just to ensure we don't get anyone all freaking out. So we already got there. We're going to go ahead and create a wallet. So that is our password for our wallet. And go ahead and keep some notes in here. So we'll put that in there. Every time we access our wallet, we're going to need that password. So that's cool. Got our default. And we're going to go ahead and need a key for our account. Let's go and do that as well. So that's our public and private key that we're going to use throughout this tutorial for the different accounts we use. And again, I'm going to change these later, so it's just all in jungle, it doesn't really matter. Not that big a deal. But obviously don't ever expose your private keys on a real thing that you're doing, because that's bad. Alright, so I'm going to go in here, and what we have to do is figure out the names for all the accounts. So these are the main accounts that we need, but I did it as an example, but we're going to change those. So let's see what we're going to call them. And I'll keep them all here just because I'm going to have to do some mapping on them. Alright, so for the authority account, we need 12 characters. Let's do like, what do we call it? Video DAC? Video DAC auth 1. Let's see how many characters. That's 13. Video DAC auth. Alright. Video DAC token. Yeah. And video DAC custodian. And let's see, video DAC hold. It's like the holding account for the DAC. And video DAC multi. Sure, close enough. All right. Are you done yet? Yes, you are done yet. All right, so let's do this. Scroll up a little bit more here. We can probably get working on stuff while this is building, so we're going to go ahead, build that, figure out how long it takes. I would have said this was like 15, something like that. About 15, 16 minutes. Alright. Alright, so that'll take a little while. While that's gone, we are going to go ahead and start creating our accounts. Alright, and thank you very much for the Jungle Testnet crypto lines. You guys are awesome. We're going to create our auth account, and we're going to post in our public key that we generated. And we're going to use the same key for all of these. Obviously, you know, in a real situation, you'd have probably different keys for each one. Now you have to close off of that window and open it up again for it to work, just because of the way they're using CAPTCHA and stuff. So FYI on that. But in this case, since we're going to be changing all the permissions anyway, it doesn't really matter that we all use the same key for each one of these. So again, these are the different accounts that are required to run the various smart contracts that actually cause the DAC to function. So those are needed. All right, video cust. Now we got, here we go. And I'm just alt tabbing between my applications here. Definitely helpful to learn your quick keys. Gotta wait for the CAPTCHA. There we go. And let's see, that was holding this last one. Alright, so we have all our accounts created, and we can verify that on chain. If you go in here, you can put in an account. Oops, not that. Put in like this first guy, make sure he's there. Boom, there he is. You can actually go to Jungle Blocks, verify it there. And get our permission set up. Cool. So there we go. Alright, so now we got our account set up. The very next thing we got to do is we got to hit up the faucet. Get some free testnet EOS. So we're going to do that for each one of these guys, because they're going to need some RAM and some bandwidth and some CPU. I think you can only do this once every 6 hours or something like that. And last I checked, it gives you 100 EOS, which should be plenty for what we're doing. Probably hear my fan in the background. The computer's like cranking. All right. And of course you could set up scripts for all this stuff, and if you're doing this on mainnet, you'd probably use different mechanism for creating accounts and making sure they have all the EOS they need to do what they're doing, but here we go. All right, cool. Let's verify that we got some monies. And this is again just on the Jungle testnet, so it's not real money, but there we go. There's 100 EOS. Hasn't been staked. We don't have any RAM yet, or not, any more than the default RAM. So that's where we're at. All right, how's this guy doing? Still cranking? 12%. All right. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is go ahead and unlock our wallet and import our private key that we created. We still got that key server running right here. We're going to go ahead and unlock it. It may already be unlocked, but just in case it's not. All right, already unlocked. Good. We're going to import our key. That's this private key for, now this private key will again work for all of these accounts. So anything we want to interact with, and there you go, pulled up the right public key, so we're good to go. So now our wallet, our local wallet, is configured to work with all these accounts. Next, we're going to run all of these. Now what these commands do is basically buys RAM and delegates to it. Now this example was using the accounts that I created for my tutorial. So again, we're going to go in here and we're going to go ahead and swap these out. Just doing a Control D here, or sorry, a Command D here in Sublime Text. It's a nice little editor. Get these all set up. Oops, wait, I'm doing this in the wrong order. It doesn't really matter. It's all the same. Yeah, it's all the same. All right, cool. And then we can actually just copy these and run them all together, in theory. Yeah, so that's going ahead and it's buying RAM, it's staking for bandwidth and CPU. And that'll get our test accounts all ready to go. And of course, if you're on the mainnet, you'd want to be, get those numbers more accurate to what you actually need, but for our purposes, it's fine. Now we're going to create a directory to hold all of our smart contracts. We're going to clone all these. And this is what the team has been working on so hard at eosDAC, which I'm really proud of. And so we don't have to do much for the token contract because it's already set. We do have to make sure that we're using the right names for it. So again, we're not doing DAC token is this guy now. So what this is basically saying is, hey, set the contract, and I've got to update this folder as well. So grab the working directory, call it video DAC. And we're basically saying, hey, I want to use this folder here, which has the WASM and the ABI file, that we could compile ourselves if we wanted to, but it's already in the repo, so we're just going to go ahead and grab the latest from the repo, and we're going to set it on that contract. Oh, I have to be in the right directory here. And there we go. So that is publishing the WASM and the ABI. Cool. So now if we wanted to double check that, what we can do, this token contract is the main contract that keeps track of membership and the token we're going to create for this DAC that is used for voting and all that kind of stuff. So go in here and we look at our contract. You can see now we've got all these actions, we've got our tables set up, and we've got our API. So that's all good. Moving on. Okay, we're going to do some couple little modifications here. This hopefully won't be needed in the future. We're going to make this a little easier in the future, but for now, let's go ahead and Give that DAC custodian. Basically what this is it's got a hard-coded authority account, so you can't set the configuration for the DAC unless you're this guy, which we're not, so that's a problem. We're not using loop DAC auth, but what we are using is our own video DAC auth. So we're going to come in here, go ahead and set that guy up, save that, and we're good. As long as that finishes up, we'll be able to compile that updated contract soon. And then let's see, we also need to modify the compile script. So let's do that as well. Maybe under output, jungle. Yeah, so right here you're specifying what the token contract is going to be. So in our case, the token contract is this guy. And let's see if there's anything else we need to change. That should be it. So save that. All right. And again, we'll compile these as soon as we get CDT set up and installed. And we'll set those contracts. But that'll take a little while. All right, let's go ahead and pause the video here, and we'll come back when the compiling is done. All right, we're back. 15:53:51. That actually took longer than I thought, actually. So that build takes quite a bit. Factor in some time for that one. Yeah, about 30 minutes. All right, so now that that is up and running, we got CDT on. We can compile our own scripts. So let's go ahead and do that here from the DAC custodian directory. So DAC contracts, DAC custodian. That should work out for us here. Well, that's interesting. Let's take a look at that. Oh, you know what we forgot to do? We forgot to install. Kind of important here. So after you do CDT, you have to install it. And CDT can be a little funky sometimes, I've noticed, with building and installing. Sometimes if it gets all messed up, you can go ahead and just blow away the build directory and reinstall it if needed. So yeah, that can be kind of a pain. All right. Let's try that again. DAC custodian. There we go. All right, so now that that's, okay, you'll see that that got our changes and it compiled, new ABI file, everything's good. So we're going to go ahead and set that. And again, we want to use the right account. So this is the DAC custodian account, which is actually our video DAC account. So go ahead and do that. And this, again, this dash P says, hey, this is the permission for this. Since all these accounts have the same key right now, they'll all work just fine. Oh, I have to unlock. We do that with this guy here. You just hit up arrow, run that again. Cool. So that's for that account. Next. Actually, the Multisig, you probably don't need to recompile that directly. Well, we'll go ahead and do it. Previously, there were some changes in that you'd have to compile in. We just got those fixed. I'll do it just for fun. No guardian contracts on that yet. That does need to be updated. We're not currently using the full Multisig system just yet in production, but it is on the dev, so you can take a look at it. I'll call this video Multisig. Go ahead and set that. Oh, you know, I just realized I set the wrong account here. Yeah, gotta get those folders right. So just for completeness sake, let's go ahead and push that up as well. All right, cool. Now we get into configuration. So we want to start with the Constitution. So, you know, you go ahead and fork the Constitution, which you can see from, go to, let's see, GitHub, eosDAC. Constitution right here. You could fork this or write your own, whatever floats your boat. But I've got a forked one here, and then I'm going to go ahead and we're just going to go ahead and just make a basic modification to it. Instead of test DAC, we'll call it the video DAC. So basically every time that the Constitution says eosDAC, we're just going to swap it out for video DAC. And let's see. Just going committing that, pushing that up. Cool. Let's get an MD5 of that, which we will need later. Save that in our notes here. Oh, you know, I just realized that yeah, that should be okay. Push that up, the same account. And then we have to, let's go ahead and get that actual hash here. "40 seconds ago, there it is. So we want to view the file at this point. See the raw file, and there we go. Oh, whoops. Actually, do the same thing again. Don't want that file. Let's try that again. Oh, it's because of this dash dash. Interesting. Oops. Huh. Just want to make sure it's got the right. Yeah, oh, this is test DAC. That's not what I want. Video DAC, okay. There we go. All right. We got this. We're going to go ahead and look at a very specific version of it. View the file, get the raw, and there we go. So that's that specific version of our constitution that we want to use. Let's get an MD file of that. Alright. There's that. And now we're going to create our configuration, which tells us the current version, basically tells the blockchain which current version of the constitution the members have to agree to. So this is basically our terms here. We're going to create terms JSON, which will have that going. So that's settings there, and then we're going to go ahead and push that up, push that action on the new member term. So we're going to call new member terms on the token account, which manages, token account manages all the membership and all that kind of stuff. So this just pushes it up, and we can take a look at that here. If we were to go and look at the tables right now, member terms is currently empty. I'm going to go ahead and push this up. And now we see we've got our member terms. So there we go, version 1. Cool. Moving on here. All right. Now we're going to update the token configuration. This basically tells the token contract what custodian system it's currently working with. And that's going to be again for the token. So we'll go ahead and echo the token config and then push that up. Cool. Next we're going to, okay, now we're going to create our tokens. So now we're going to actually create, how many tokens should we create? What should we call it? I don't know. Let's see here. So we're going to, it's all set up. That's a lot of tokens. How many? I think that's how many you can totally create. Yeah. Test DAC. I guess we'll call it video DAC. So we're about to create a token on the general testnet, and it's going to be part of this account here, a video DAC token. Let's go ahead and do that. Well, let's see what we got here. Oh, it doesn't look, this is a symbol, probably too many characters. Oh, it's got a 0 in it. That would do it. Oh, no, it's not 0. Let's see, we'll call it vid DAC. See if that works. Alright, cool. And we're issuing a bunch of tokens, so now this account here should have a bunch of tokens. There we go. Video DAC token, vid DAC. Cool. Next, we're going to get our configuration for the DAC. So this is a little bit complicated, but basically this kind of sets up all the settings for the DAC. Now this can be updated anytime in the future if you need to, but things like, you know, how many votes are needed, what the period will be for elections, what the token is. We're gonna, you know, how many of the tokens do you need to lock up in order to be a custodian candidate. Let's say we also want to set up our different accounts. So the authorization account has to be configured in here. So I'm going to do the video DAC authorization account. This account is the, let's see, which one is this one? Token holder account. Yes, that's the main like custodian account that holds all the tokens. And go ahead and put that in there. Okay. Service provider account, I think we can leave that blank because we're not going to be using a service provider. Minimum pay for custodians, or maximum pay for custodians. Call that 10 EOS. All right, that should be good. Let's go ahead and create that DAC config. And again, you can change this later, read through the Constitution and figure out what all those settings mean and how they impact your system. Like the auth threshold for high, medium, and low, that's set right here with these different settings. How long you have to lock up your stake tokens when you're a custodian, all that kind of stuff. All right, so we're going to push that up. Oh, whoops, actually, maybe I did the wrong thing. Don't have permissions for that, so we have to do it. It's not the loop DAC custodians, but we're doing video DAC custodians. All right. Calling update config on that, and now this one requires the auth. I explained that a little bit here in the post, but there's a little bit of funkiness in the system right now, where in order to set the contract, it actually looks for that as a default. It's something we modified when we compiled it earlier. All right, there we go. So now we've updated the config. If we go and look at this account, we should see that updated configuration. And there we go. So we got max votes. So that's how many votes each member can have. All that kind of stuff. Cool. All right, moving on. Sweet. So we got that far. We got everything. We got our account set up. We've got our things configured. Now we're actually going to connect that to the member client front end, to a customized member client front end. This is where things get a little more tricky. So I've already forked the eosDAC token toolkit, and so I can make my own customizations to it. We're going to be working out of the dev branch, and then in this case I'm just like replacing eosDAC with our test DAC, but actually in this case I've already done this on my branch, so we'll go ahead and replace test DAC with video DAC. There we go, so now we got video DAC in there. I'll just go replacing push that up. All right. So to get this going, we want to modify the jungle config, which is actually right here. We're not using test DAC, but we're using our vidDAC token. I'm going to change some of these authority accounts. And if this was on production, obviously you'd have different settings for the production account setups. You have a different chain ID and different details in here. All right. Token contract information. Just dropping this in where it's supposed to be. It's all good. Okay, custodian contract. This guy. And then the Multisig contract. All right. We've also got the member client URL. We're setting it to localhost because we're going to be running that API on our own machine. So that's already set. That looks good. Oops. Okay. Go ahead and do all that. Double check it, make sure it looks good. Yeah. All right. So we want to install all the different packages that are needed in order to run the member client. It'll take a little while. And essentially the member client is completely decentralized in that, you know, you can run it on your computer, you can run it on a hosted solution. It's using material design and Kazaa, so you could actually export it so you could have it like, you know, running on a phone or, you know, running on a desktop application. We haven't explored that much yet, but that's certainly in the, you know, realm of possibility. The only thing that it does need is a kind of profile watcher. So essentially, when you save your profile to the blockchain, you need this kind of API running that will kind of look for that transaction on the blockchain. Once it sees it, scrape it off the blockchain, put it in MongoDB, and then make that available to the member client to be able to scrape that MongoDB through an API to say, hey, you know, is there a profile for this account? So it's a little bit tricky, but you know, that's essentially the trade-offs you have to make as far as like centralization and decentralization. You know, storing that kind of member profile data is not something you want to stick in RAM tables on, you know, the EOS chain. It would just end up using a ton of RAM. So instead, it makes sense to just kind of post it to the chain and be watching for it as it happens. So we'll do that in just a second. Once we get this up and going. And of course, this can be completely customized based on your own DAC needs. So you have to learn a little bit of Kazaa, obviously CSS and things like that, but Kazaa, the Kazaa framework and Vue.js is kind of where all this stuff lives. You can see it's organized with different pages. You've got plugins as well. And then the router kind of figures out, like, you know, how you can get to different pages. Almost done here. So yeah, if you wanted to go in and like modify stuff, customize things, you know, this is where you do it. You know, like the dashboard or, you know, different profile pages. You come in here and modify these view pages for your specific needs. Now the actual text we actually have here in internationalization. We've got all the different language files. So in here you'd see where you can modify all the text itself. So that's important for supporting multiple languages and all that kind of stuff. All right, we're done. So let's go ahead and fire up member client. So this is running it on the Jungle system, checking out the dev branch, and the true at the end says, hey, I'm going to just run it in dev mode. So it's going to go ahead and fire it up here locally on our computer so we can take a look at it. But on like a production system, you just run Kazaa build, and you'd have that fully built, and then you would go ahead and deploy it with Nginx or something like that. Builds a little slower the first time. There we go. All right, so the video DAC member client. In theory, we're actually connected here, and I can show you how this could like log in and stuff, but I'm not going to get to that right yet. We're still going to make some more tweaks to it. We'll get to that eventually. And so that's good. We got that running. All right, so made it this far. Grab yourself a beer or water, whatever. We're making progress. So now we're going to set up that ChainWatcher like I was talking about. So if you've got MongoDB installed, you should be good to go. If not, you'll go ahead and get it installed. We're going to just have that running. So now we got MongoDB running, which is great. And I've already kind of cloned the action scraper so I can make my own customizations to it, or I've already forked it, but you'll want to do that as well. So we're going to get a new folder here. All right, there we go. So leave all those running. The action scraper again is just kind of like looking for things as it happens on the blockchain. And we're going to make some modifications to the config file for the scraper. We'll call it DB name. I guess we'll call it the maybe dev DAC or video DAC. And we got to modify some of these as well. I'll make sure we're modifying the right file here. See DAC collection? Yeah, okay, so the custodian account is this one. Token account is this one. And the multi-signature account. So these are the accounts that's going to be watching. All right, so now we got that. Gotta get this all set up. Yeah, actually that's fine. I'm gonna copy that over. And now we can run a watcher. Oh, let's see here. Huh, something about it I didn't like. Oh, you have to be in the watchers folder. Definitely helps. All right, so that is watching video custodian. It's watching for this store profile, and it'll just keep checking every 3 seconds looking for that. So now that we got that running, let's go ahead and open a new window. And now we need an API surface to talk to that watcher there. And again, that's watching on the blockchain, and when it finds stuff, it's going to throw it into MongoDB. So the next is creating an API that will be able to pull that data out of MongoDB and work with it. So let's go ahead and modify this. All right, we've already got it set up on our local database. I think we should actually change this. Video DAC, I believe. Oh no, that's just the URL. All right, leave that as is for now. We probably should change that though. Call it the video DAC database. This URL doesn't matter all that much. All right, let's go ahead and change it, see what happens. All right. Copy that over, and let's get this API endpoint going. Oh, we got a yarn install first. so now we're connected to MongoDB. Let's get yet another terminal open. Okay. Now we're going to modify permissions on all the different accounts. And this is where it gets really fun as far as like actually creating a DAC. Because if you look at the way things are right now, each one of these accounts only has, you know, your traditional kind of basic permission setup, and they're actually all the same. So we're going to run through this to go ahead and resign the permissions. Let's just go ahead and copy all this. Resign the permissions and set them up as we need them with multi-signature control. But we need to change the accounts. So instead of Luke DAC, we're going to go to video DAC auth. Swap that out, and instead of Luke DAC custodian, we're going to go with video DAC custodian. And also we need to make sure we got the right public key here. These accounts, there we go. All right, so essentially what this is going to be doing is resigning the permissions on most of the accounts and setting it to the video DAC auth account. And then for the, and that's for the main resignation. So let's go ahead and run this now. These are just creating these files we're going to use when we push it up on the chain. All right. Now we got our JSON files ready to go. And now we can actually update things. So let's start with this here. And again, set up our correct account. So this is just saying, hey, we're going to set up these new accounts, high, medium, low, and 1. These are all things that the code itself kind of looks for doing different things as far as like special resolutions and things like that. When you look through the Constitution, it kind of explains how that all works. And we want to, of course, have the right account that we're talking about here. There we go. Just run one of those, make sure it's right. And of course, got to unlock. All right, back here. Okay, so now if we take a look at video DAC auth, we should see that there's a new permission added. And there we go. So now we have the high permission. Cool. Let's go ahead and run the rest of these. All right, back to our tutorial. Now we're going to resign the token contract. You can see, let's look at it before and after here. So, which was token contract? The video DAC token, forget. There it is. And you can see permissions right now are just your standard, key pair. And what we're going to do with this is we're going to set it so that it's done based on the permissions of the DAC. And this is going to take out both the owner and the active. So now when we look at it, we've got video DAC auth is now the way to manage this account. So this is really important because this is where the token supply is and everything else like that. And this way now the authority account for the DAC has full control over these tokens, over the code specifying this token over, you know, all this kind of stuff, updating terms, membership, everything. So that's a really important step. Next, we're going to resign some more. Super exciting, I know, but this represents quite a lot of work from the DAC team, and it's something I'm pretty excited about when we think about what's possible with this system of DACs. All right, so now we got that. Okay, so there's some comments here that explain how we're setting up time lock transfers, giving appropriate permissions for the actual contracts themselves, the eosIO code, so they can actually run different things and do different things. So the holding account for video DAC, this one holds all the funds. It's important. We set up the transfer permissions, which we set up here. This basically says, okay, we're giving, you need a medium permission of weight 2, or you can have the code with weight 1 along with weight 1 of 3600 seconds. So basically, the medium permission of the custodians could go ahead and just do a transfer right away, or they could have to wait. The code can do it, but there's a little delay in there, so we can actually make sure if their code has like a problem or something. So first we're gonna create this X for permission. This is specifically for transfers. And we're gonna create this as well. All right, so now let's go ahead and take a look at that. Get a better idea of how that comes together. Here we go. So in order to do a transfer, you need a weight of 2, and you can either get that with the video DAC off medium permission, or you can get it with the custodian code running, but then you're going to be waiting 60 minutes because those two would have to be true. So you'd have to do deferred transactions that are 60 minutes out. And that's just a way we can make sure that the code doesn't have some serious flaw in it that, you know, somebody exploited to try to steal all the DAC funds. So it's kind of a really cool little system there for protecting the DAC. And we're going to do basically similar. Yeah, we're going to resign the holding account as well. See here, we still have these permissions here, so we're going to fix those up. Big shout out to Michael Yates for getting this all set up and designing all this. Pretty amazing stuff. Power that you can have, there we go, with EOS is pretty amazing. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and set up transfer permissions for our custodian account as well. Video DAC custodian. You notice I always like copy and paste because I don't want to have an error because I type something incorrectly. So I do that often. This can be a pain in the butt if you mistype something, it doesn't work and you're not sure why. And we're also going to resign permissions on the custodian account. Wait, that's what we just did, yeah? Was the, no, that was a transfer permission. Okay, there we go. All right. Cool. All right. Now it says allow Hi to call any action on DAC custodian. These are just talking about these different permissions as they're configured in the code itself. So the code will kind of look for calling these different actions, and this way I have things all set up correctly with link auths and all that. This is for firing a custodian. This is on the Video DAC custodian account. So if you're going to call fire custodian or fire candidate, then you need to have at least a medium permission. That's essentially what that's saying there. All right. And then in order to call Multisig, we're going to say you need to have the one permission. So basically this means you have to be a custodian. You have to at least be one of the custodians added into the system. Let's get that Multisig. All right. What do we have next? All right. Now we're going to set, now this is tricky, this is where we're going to actually set it up so that the DAC custodian has permissions to call the code. But in this case, we're actually, for now, I'm going to go ahead and leave the, as we set up here, we're going to leave the keys in. When you're really confident about the code, you know you don't have to make any other changes in the future. You can go ahead and remove these keys. You just have it be an empty array, kind of like the resigns here, just like that. And even if you do that, you can modify things later just by writing code that will actually update keys as needed. But just as far as permissions go and stuff, it's easier to leave that available, leave that open if needed. So this is going to go ahead, and this is kind of the big deal, because now everything else is pointing to DAC authority, but DAC authority is still, as you can see here, all still set up with these keys. So now we're going to go ahead and change the owner key. Actually, that should be, yeah, that should probably say active. Let me double check that. Yeah, those are a little bit backward. Oh no, owner and owner and active and active. Okay, that's right. Oh, that's just for the owner. Interesting. I'll have to look at that. I'm going to go ahead and run this last one. Actually, we'll leave that one off for now. So let's see here. Yeah, that's at the active as we expected. And we'll go ahead and run this as well then, I guess. So we want to give it code permissions. All right. Alright, so now owner is code and active is high. Again, later we could swap out and remove these keys for confident everything's working as we expect. Alright, so with that all done, we let's go ahead and transfer some tokens around. Actually, we do have to go ahead and create a bunch of these test accounts. In order to have, we need to have enough members of the DAC to actually make that work. Let's say video DAC. My character's at 8. Video DAC 0. There's 12. So we're going to create a bunch of these. That should be enough. And this is going to take a little time, unfortunately, but we have to go through here, create all these accounts, and we'll use the same. Actually, let's go ahead and use a different key for this. So this will be the key pair for all these guys. Thank you once again to the Jungle testnet. Super helpful. Oops. Cars. I'm not a robot yet. Fire hydrants. Oh, come on now. Traffic lights. Maybe. Close enough. All right. Using a clipboard manager. Storefront. Statues. Oh, missed one. Alright. So again, what we're doing here is we're just creating enough accounts that we can work with. In the real world, you wouldn't have to create all these accounts because, you know, they'd be real people. And the real people would be engaged in your DAC and being awesome. But in this case, we're just trying to demo what's possible. So we're creating sock puppet accounts, basically. Oops. Traffic lights. Yeah. Close enough. All right, cars. They're trying to make it hard, aren't they? Is that a car? Oh, there you go. Crosswalks. Training Google's AI. Come on. I don't think I've ever made it work this hard. Let's go. Oh, come on. All right. Images with cars. Click verify once there are none left. All right. There we go. Yay. That's pretty funny. Crosswalks. Let's see any other crosswalks there. That's one. Traffic lights. Traffic lights. Fire hydrants. Traffic lights. Crosswalks. Ay, ay, ay. There we go. We are almost done here. Creating accounts. Probably should have done this while things were compiling, huh? That would have made sense. Buses. Traffic lights. Crosswalks. What is what did I do? Google captures fascination with fire hydrants, crosswalks, and traffic lights. Because we're training feature automated cars. That's probably what we're doing. All right, 2 more. Google reCAPTCHAs, like, seriously? What kind of human is sitting here doing this? Buses. Not missing any buses on my lap. There's one. Come on. Alright. There we go. Last one. Crosswalks again. It's going to be a crosswalk, watch. Oh, street light. Change it up on me. Storefront. Yeah, maybe a storefront. Hard to tell. Bra ad. Interesting. Maybe a storefront. Who knows? Yeah, not really. Oh, alright. Okay, sweet. So now we have all of our accounts set up. And we should probably transfer some tokens around, yeah? Because they gotta have some monies in order to vote. That's our token contract again. Video DAC token. Give everybody, what, 10 million? Should be enough to get them started, right? And we're doing VidDAC, right? Let's see if that works. All right. So if this was a real DAC, you'd probably do an airdrop or something like that. One of the things that we're really hoping for and encouraging is that as different DACs use the eosDAC technology, that they will create tokens and set aside some of their tokens for the eosDAC members. The idea being those members who supported the DAC and, you know, enabled the DAC to accomplish its goals would be rewarded by other DACs adding, you know, finding value from the technology that was built. All right, let's see. All right, so okay, so now that we've got all these, we're gonna have to loop through all of them and go ahead and register them as a member of the DAC and then basically have them vote for themselves. But before we do all that, let's go ahead and demonstrate here. We should be able to log in here. All right, so I'm logged in here under this video DAC. There we go. But I'm not a member, I'm not registered. I'm gonna go ahead and log out here. Currently there's no custodians, everything's just kind of empty. But this is connecting to our contract and our system, which is pretty cool. And yeah, I've got no profile or anything. So I'm gonna go ahead and log out. I'll log in again. Scatter should come up, but I'm gonna have to actually set up, let me pause the video real quick and I'm gonna go ahead and set up my permissions on Scatter. Actually, I just went ahead and left that alone. We'll just use this account here. So if I was gonna go ahead and save a profile here, I get to look at everything that's going on. And what we should do is we should actually see Mongo and our node watcher. There we go. So our node watcher saw it. And I went ahead and put that into Mongo. So there it is, video DAC profiles was generated. Cool. So that essentially is doing what we expected, and it's still unconfirmed, but basically once that confirms, that shows us that our profile watcher and our API are talking to MongoDB, all good stuff. Very cool. All right. So getting back to this here now, we're going to go ahead and, for all these test accounts we created, we're going to go ahead and import the keys there so that we can register them all. All right, now for each one of these, I'm going to have to repeat this 12 times, and you could write a script for this, but I just felt it was helpful to actually do it one at a time so I can get a feel for what I'm actually doing here. There we go. And when you register, you have to provide a hash of the constitution that you read, which of course we did, right? And we are going to get that from back here, which should be the latest version. That should work. So let's go ahead and try that. Let's try all these. So essentially this just says, okay, I'm going to register. These are the same functionality that actually you'd see right here. So we're going to go ahead, let's go ahead and do that here. So I can go in here and I can say on the constitution, I can say, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and register. Just waiting for scatter. Oh, make sure there's not a, no, there's scatter, good. No JavaScript bugs or anything. All right, cool. So now I'm pending registration. I need to have some tokens, that's why. I'm going to go ahead and transfer over some tokens to this account. DAC test 1. Million tokens should be enough. All right. There we go, boom, there it shows up. My profile is approved. If I wanted to, I could actually register as a candidate. I won't with this account just yet, but I've got this all set up for voting and everything else I want to do. So let's go ahead. So essentially that just kind of shows the process of registration and everything. So let's go ahead and run this. We'll register our first guy here. So this does the registration. Okay, so it didn't like the terms. Let's go ahead and get that fixed. Let's see what terms we have here. So 583D should be the right terms. Ah, oh yeah, that should be right. Ah, there's the problem. Leak DAC token. So we're calling it on the wrong contract. So it's video DAC custody. Oh yeah, that's part of the token contract. So we're going to go ahead and call it on token contract. Oops. And then we're also going to, not on the leak DAC custodian, but it's actually going to be on video DAC custodian. Alright, so this basically says, okay, we're going to register, we're going to, and it's not test DAC, but it's bid DAC. We're going to stake our bid DAC tokens. I think I set this to only require 10,000. Maybe double check that. Yeah, 10,000 tokens, 10,000 bid DAC tokens. So we're going to go ahead and transfer those tokens to the staking contract, and we're going to nominate ourselves. Ask for one EOS and pay, custodian pay, and then we're going to go ahead and vote for ourselves. This should all work here. Alright, so in theory, when I come in here and I look for vote custodians, boom, there we go. That is somebody that is now custodian we can vote for. Hold on, I'm doing a video, girl. Cool, I'll have to look at it in a second because I'm doing a video right now. I love you, girl. Talk to you later. Can you close the door, please? Thank you. I love working from home. All right. So we're cranking those out. This is going to take a little while. Not too long though. Let's double check on chain that this is working. Sweet. All right. That's number 5. Let's go to this next one here. Again, I'm just doing Command D and Sublime Text, makes that easy. Know your quick keys. They are very helpful. All right. Once we get all these candidates in place and voted for, which we might have already reached it. Yeah, we're at 5%. You have to get, it's configured that you need 15% of the actual token holders voting for custodians before the DAC will be available and open to launch, where it'll reset the permissions and everything. And this was done similar to how the EOS mainnet launch happened, to make sure that you actually got the will of the token holders, that enough people have been represented basically with their votes. Enough of the token holders have been represented before you go ahead and turn on the DAC based on the custodian candidates that they are wanting to elect. And you can adjust that based on your needs, but that's how it's currently configured. All right, so we've got 12 custodians. Oh, wow. All right, so we don't have enough here. So we need to send some more tokens. So let's go ahead and send another 50 million tokens to some lucky guy. Now, and I should specify the reason why I'm still able to do this using these keys without multi-signature is because I still have these keys set up here on this account. And if you go to and for all these different permissions, once we launch the DAC completely, you won't be able to do these, and we remove all these keys, you won't be able to do these transfers anymore. It'll be completely locked up, and the only way you can do it would be a multi-signature according to a multi-signature proposal according to all the different permissions of the elected custodian. So we'll demonstrate that in a second. All right, so now 21%. All right, the DAC is ready to launch. So go ahead and we're going to call new period. And let's just double check here. So this is how things are set up now. And the way this is configured, every 7 days, new period gets called. And what that does is it resets all the permissions, and it goes ahead and does the custodian pay as well. So this is the last step for launching the DAC. All right, so we need our video DAC custodian. I'm going to call new period, and I'm pretty sure anyone can call it. I'll just call it with this guy. And as long as it's, past the time period, which is 7 days, and it met the minimum voting requirement, then it should work. All right, there we go. So now it just reset all these permissions. We reload this, and boom, there we go. So high, medium, and low. These are our elected custodians are now in control of the DAC, which is really exciting. And if we want to, so there we go. If we want to make it a little more fun, we can go in here and modify some styles and stuff. It's just some basic style changes so we can see this, how easy it is to kind of change some of this. So let's see here, if we go in here now, where's that? Themes, common variables. There we go. Let's go ahead and just change out some colors. Change out the dark here. And background. So when I save that, because I'm running in dev mode, it automatically recompiles, and boom, there you go. So you see the updates right away. And that's happening right over here in this, because our dev build we have going. And then we could also, let's go ahead and change out that logo as well, which we can do here. This is under, let's see, the layout's default view. Right here, there's our logo, and we're going to, what do we have it here? There it is. Oh, we have to move that though. Let's copy that. We'll put it in material design, source, statics, image. Drop it in there. Boom, there we go. So we got our own logo, we got our own color scheme. Again, we could change all the text, we could change everything about this if we wanted to. And we'll go ahead and demonstrate what we did with the client, with the CoolEOS client. You can do right here as well. So we go ahead and vote for these guys just for fun. Demonstrate how that works. Just waiting for scatter. There it is. There we go. So that's how members can vote, and you know, these are the top here, but if I was to go in and register myself, then I would show up as a candidate as well. So now you see me down here. So I could go ahead and vote someone else, put myself in, and then once the time period for new period happens 7 days later, you know, if I got enough votes, then I would hop in to the top 12, and based on that, it would adjust these permissions and I would be included. And then if I was included, I'd have all these multisig tools. So I won't get into that all yet because that's still being developed. But essentially the custodians can now propose and approve and deny multi-signature transactions, which is really pretty cool. So anyway, there we go. We have built out the entire video DAC on the Jungle Test Network. Pretty sure that's it. Yep, that's it. We've done it. So that's what you can do. It took a little time, as you can tell, but there we go. We've got a full running setup. And you know, I hope you appreciate the significance of how important this is. I mean, this can be used for corporations, this can be used for startups, this can be used for nonprofits, this can be used for local governments eventually, this can be used for any system where we have a community of people that need to come together and agree on, you know, how they're going to manage worker proposals, you know, or funding, things that they want to accomplish together, and who's going to be in charge of doing that, who's going to decide for the group. And so this is just it's a pretty cool step forward. We're in the early stages, but as you can see, it's all here, it's all functional, and you can use this right now for any of the projects you're working on. So hope you appreciate that. I hope that was helpful, and we'll talk to you later. Have a good one.